Hey everyone, welcome to The Creek. My name is Jared Meller and I'm the ministry lead here. And in this series, we're taking a look at the story of God as it unfolded. Not necessarily in a chronological sense, but looking at it as a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so last week we started where all great stories start, which is in the beginning. This book of Genesis, that is the very first book in the Bible, is in a lot of ways the story that sets the rhythm for everything that comes afterwards. It's a story that tells us, we saw last week, why there's something instead of nothing. That there is a God behind all of the big questions that we might ask, and a God who is working all things together in this grand scheme towards some end that we don't yet know. But there's a beginning to this story. It has an author. It has a cause. But what I love about Genesis is that immediately after that first story, that immediately after the in the beginning story, is another account of creation that addresses less the question of why is there something instead of nothing, and asks the question, more importantly, where did you and I come from? Why is there a human difference? What makes humans different from every other animal? What makes you and me worth a damn? This question that's at the heart of everything else that comes afterwards is both beautiful for its complexity and beautiful for what it means. It's complex because it actually presents a different order of events than the first story. It's a revelation that the first story is not meant to be taken literally, not meant to be taken factually, but is meant to drive the question that's at the heart of it. Why is there something instead of nothing? And so the second story reveals that the order of events isn't actually important. What is important is that there's a difference between what happens on day 6, when human beings are made in the image of God, and every other day of that creation cycle. You and I are different. We're different than any other animal. We're different than any other living creature. The kind of life that we embody is a different kind of life. The great theologian Thomas Aquinas points out that this kind of life has a specific nature to it. And what is it that makes humans different from every other animal, every other kind of being, is an open question, one that the Bible itself doesn't actually address, except to say that human beings are not just created things. Human beings are, in fact, not even twice created things. Human beings are created and created again and created again. The first creation happened when God spoke everything into existence, and all of a sudden there was an earth, and all of a sudden there was ground, and there was dirt, and there was dust. The second creation happened when God took that dust and formed it into the shape of a human being, made human beings in the likeness of God. The third creation happened when God breathed into that person. When God breathed life, the very breath, in Hebrew the ruach, the spirit, the wind, the life of God into us. As human beings, this is a story that generates not only our sense of duty and purpose and identity, but also our sense of ethics, obligation, and virtue. Everything that we do and say and are stems from this truth. We are created in the image of God. The people that you interact with are created in the image of God. The people that you love are created in the image of God. The image of God is not marred by disability or disfigurement or race or gender. It is a mark that is imprinted on the soul and on the fabric of every single man, woman, and child on the planet. Made in the image of God. This is what separates us from everything else. This is what makes your life intrinsically more valuable than any tree, any animal, any blade of grass, any flower, any plant, any bird, any fish, anything. And this is a reality that we all recognize at a fundamental level. While we might weep for the extinction of species, while we should have an obligation to tend the earth that God has entrusted to us, we recognize at a justice level We recognize at a moral level, we recognize at an ethical level that there is a difference in the loss of a human life than any other kind of life. We recognize at a fundamental level that you are made in the image of God. And we will pick up the story there next week. For now, we want you to know that you are part of God's story, and we would love to share this story with you. We hope that you'll check out the link to our app in the description to this video, that you'll subscribe here on YouTube, and that you'll join us next week as we continue to walk through the great story of God. For now, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.